Welcome to the Private Practice Journeys podcast, where mental health professionals learn about the nuts and bolts of private practice by listening to the journeys of 4 therapists that have taken the plunge into private practice. And here's your host, Chris Quarto.
Hey, this is Chris Quarto. Welcome to Private Practice Journeys. You know, I was just thinking about this. I'm so glad that you're listening to this because I've listened to other podcast episodes about private practice, and they're really good. And the thing that's cool about them is that you hear all these different therapists interviewed, a different therapist each week, and they give you their take on private practice and what it's like. But you know what? You know what's really unique about Private Practice Journeys is that we're focusing on depth instead of breadth of experience. So in other words, I'm just interviewing 4 therapists once a month throughout the course of 2017, and it's the same 4 therapists. So you're going to get a really good idea of what it's like to take that plunge and to learn the nitty-gritty about the different aspects of private practice. And boy, I think this is the real way to do it. You really get a good scoop, inside picture, behind-the-scenes look of what a private practice, starting a private practice is like. And in fact, Debby Simmons is here this week to talk about some of her recent experiences over the past month. So without further ado, here's Debby. Hi, Journey followers. Welcome again to Private Practice Journeys. I'm your host, Chris Quarto. Today, I'm joined by Debby Simmons. And Debby, how's it going?
Good, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and thanks for joining me again. Good. Well, sure. Your journey is a little bit different, and I want to bring the Journey followers up to speed, Debby, because unlike the other 3 therapists who I've interviewed, you've been in private practice for many years. In fact, I think it was 1983, wasn't it? When you first started?
1993.
1993.
Don't make me older.
Okay, so 1993. So you've been in this profession for quite a while. But the thing that's a little bit different for you, I guess, which kind of a new thing for you, is that you decided to go from solo private practice into group private practice. And so that's the new aspect of this for you. So just kind of as a start, why don't you tell the Journey followers a little bit where you're at with your group practice, maybe who you've asked to be part of this and that kind of stuff.
Okay, sure. So our group practice is Primrose Healing and Wellness, and the approach that we're taking to psychotherapy and wellness is basically it's a very holistic approach. So we want to provide a variety of different ways to attack mental illness. And that could be through having a variety of different practitioners on board, such as, in addition to doing therapy, we have art therapy, we've got someone doing Reiki, we've got meditation and yoga as part of it, stress management, so a variety of different things that can really be adjuncts to the whole psychotherapy process.
That's great.
So, yeah, so it's really exciting. So in the last month, so January was really was our kickoff. We sort of that was when we technically opened the doors to the new practice. So I've actually at this point have 6 people working for me. 4 of them are therapists. One is a person who does Reiki, and one person who just came on is going to be teaching yoga and meditation. So that's been the biggest thing for this last month, and our website should be opening up hopefully this week. So that's
cool.
Going to be a big thing too. Yeah.
How exciting!
Yeah, so I'm excited.
You must feel
so
on top of the world right now.
I am.
Well, Debby, how was it that you went about choosing these people? And how did you know? Because I guess that would be the question I would have if I wanted to expand my practice as well. How do you go about finding the right person? Because, it has to be the right fit, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So two of the people I was actually really lucky were both my interns. One still is an intern, and another person got newly licensed, and I convinced her to stay on because she basically really bought into this holistic idea of wellness, and that was sort of her dream. So we knew each other already, and then where I kind of went from that was I just started putting things out to the community, and I actually just put some job postings out, and exactly what I was looking for in terms of the holistic piece. And I was surprised within the first week that that this went out. I had like 15 applications.
Oh, wow.
I was very surprised. And then, more kind of came in, but of course, so what I weeded people out was I definitely knew I wanted people who were already licensed, because I'd already had the one intern and I didn't want to be taking on any more interns. I basically, the buy-in piece were two big things. One, actually three big things. One was it had to be somebody who bought into our philosophy of healing and wellness and really looking at the holistic approach. It had to be somebody who was not looking for the type of job where they were just going to be handed clients. They had to be willing to believe in this so much that they were going to go out and do the marketing piece themselves. So that was sort of a big part of it. And then just somebody who was really excited to get in on the ground level of something and really see it grow. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's nice that you had some sort of like some built-in help. I mean, you knew some of these people going into it, so I'm sure that helped and probably helped you feel like it maybe wasn't as big of a risk to go this route. And I think that that's a really important thing. Well, Debbie, I want to ask you some questions just about what you've learned so far being into this, since you started this back in January, and my motto is growing by learning, and so I'm always curious about how people learn as they do new things like this. And I want to ask you just about learning by doing, because most of us in this field, that's how we learn to do this thing, whether it's establishing a private practice or learning how to do therapy, whatever the case may be. And I'm wondering what kind of activity pertaining to your business that you've tackled over the past month where you feel maybe a little bit more confident about being a business owner or owner of a group practice. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think the whole idea of interviewing and hiring, that whole process has been, that's been really exciting to me, because I've been in this business as a business owner, but I've never hired people. So that whole thing was definitely learning by doing, and
I bet.
And how to do it to really take my time, because it was hard because I wanted to get this up and running. I mean, I did start interviewing people back in December, but I wanted to get this up and running, and so the concern was I could have jumped too quickly to hire people.
Sure.
And really just getting to know people, and feeling the rapport and trusting my own intuition. Those have been kind of the big things. And at this point, anyway, it's worked out.
That's great. So in that interview process, is there some technique, maybe some question you found was an important question to ask as part of the interview process, at least for your particular type of practice? Was there anything that you asked where you thought, oh, that's a good question, that's really important that I was able to get that information from that person?
The way I really started each interview with everybody was, it was really about, tell me about yourself, your background, and what you're looking for, because I wanted to see where they took it. I didn't want prepared interview responses. Okay. I just wanted them to be themselves and to feel if it was a good match for me. And then we talked about, what are your beliefs about, why do you want to work in terms of the holistic approach? That was a huge question. And again, just seeing, there was no right or wrong answer to that question. It was more, are their responses in line with mine and what I'm looking for the center?
Right. And, I like the way that you did that because it kind of reminds me, I'm a psychologist, so it sort of reminds me a little bit about a projective technique where you don't really give the person any clues about what the quote right answer is or what
Right.
you're looking for. And you're basically kind of sort of like opening it up and just kind of listening for them and not really providing a lot of structure from how you're talking about this. And really it provides you with a way of evaluating without them knowing, what you're looking for or think
Exactly.
what you're looking. And what a great way of doing that. I wonder, did they feel uncomfortable at all or were they okay with that approach?
No, I think it was really well because I think it started just as sort of conversational. And I think even though I'm saying at the beginning, tell me about yourself, you're not sure that the interview has started yet. It really becomes kind of like, okay, it's a little bit about me. And then, maybe she's going to get into some questions. But I try to put people at ease, very much by doing that.
That's great. Well, I want to ask you a little bit more. It's sort of like the learning by doing. I call it learning from experience. And I think oftentimes when we're in business, we think about doing things and we try it and we think to ourselves, oh no, why did I do that? Or, I wish I would have worked out a little bit differently. And, I wonder for you if you had a chance to do anything over again in this past month or two since you've been starting up your group practice, if you had a do-over or a mulligan, what would you do differently?
Well, one of the things was, which I sort of made a comment about a second ago, about not hiring people too quickly.
Yeah.
I did do that at the beginning. I had one person come on and I got all excited and thought she was all on board and went out and got business cards for her and the whole bit. And then she changed her mind before she actually even signed the contract. So I just did some stuff too fast.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay, I'm not doing anything and going to slow it down, make sure all my, everything's done, contracts are signed and everything before I go further. That was one thing. And the other has just been a lot of like office kinds of things, like how do we get the telephone system set up and an email system set up
Sure.
and all these things that just, I think that I have an idea, right? But one of the things that I'm learning is I'm not making those decisions solely on my own. I think I did about the telephone system, but I really want it to be now a joint venture. So even getting people on board, what are your ideas? Because I want them to buy into what we're doing, not just me giving them everything and saying you have to do it this way. So that I've learned over the last month.
I think that's good because, to me, when I think of that kind of an approach where you collaborate, you get people involved in the process, I think they're more likely to buy into that and to be happy with where they're at and to want to stay with you. And, I think that's what you're looking for as an owner of a group practice is stability. I think that that's a very important thing for what you're doing right now. So, that makes total sense.
It is. I mean, I just feel like I really want these people to like being here. I was like out, just doing some shopping the other day, and I was going, I want to get these little things for everybody in my office, and it made me feel so good because it's like I want to be a good employer. I want them to like where they're working. That's really important to me.
That's right, because you've probably worked places that you really liked and perhaps places that you didn't like so much.
Right.
And I know for me, I keep all that stuff in the back of my mind and thinking, well, if I ran the zoo, this is what I would do. This is how I would do it. And I'm sure you have that going through your mind too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But, what you're talking about earlier, Debbie, is with the moving too quickly thing. I wonder if part of that for people who are considering doing the group practice or actually any type of private practice wanting to move in that direction is that they get so excited and so wrapped up into their emotions that they want to put the cart before the horse. I'm not saying that's what happened to you, but I wonder if that's something that you've heard happen to people or if that's a possibility in this situation.
I think it is definitely a possibility. I mean, I think it's definitely a possibility here in terms of in the hiring process. You don't think you're going to get people, and so you're just going to take, kind of whatever comes along, and
Yeah.
that's not going to work. And you've got to. I mean, my belief is if this thing really is meant to be for us, and so it's gonna work out in the time frame that it's supposed to work out. And rushing things with anything we do in our lives, right? We
That's
never
right.
do it. It's never done in a quality way if we
Right.
rush through it.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that when you're first starting in a group practice, that you're not so, you don't get into a situation where you need people so badly where you're just going to take anybody. That
Right,
you want to just
exactly.
take your time, do the interviewing, go through the process, and do that internal. Is this a good fit? Is this person a good fit
Right.
with our philosophy, with who I am as a person? So I think there's a lot of things that go into that fit factor that you were talking about.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Right.
Well, how about just learning to market? Because I'm sure you've done a lot of marketing just as a solo practitioner, and I wonder how that changes when you go to the group practice, and how does marketing change, and how do your employees figure into all the marketing efforts?
The marketing thing has actually been one of the most exciting pieces of this for me. As a solo practitioner, I have done some marketing, but I have been lucky. I haven't done a whole lot of marketing.
Okay.
And a lot of it is just, you do the basic stuff. I've had my website and Facebook and,
Yeah.
Psychology Today and all these different things. But I really haven't done a lot because I did rely on insurance companies for an awful lot.
Uh-huh.
But the whole marketing page is this whole website that we're doing has been a project in and of itself. I am so excited about what is going to be coming out because
Wow.
we actually had there's videos of each therapist. There's pages for each therapist.
Oh,
There's so much that's going to be on this website that I'm just really excited about. I brought a marketing person on board who's actually spent a lot of time talking to about Facebook because the research has shown that for therapists in solo practice, Facebook isn't necessarily the best marketing tool because it just doesn't meet a large enough audience for a variety of reasons. But when you've got something like a group practice where things are happening all of the time, where there's different events and you're drawing from a variety of different people, and you've got somebody that you can that can be doing your marketing on a regular basis, the goal is that your numbers are going to go way up. I don't know what those numbers are going to go up to right now, but I know I've got someone on board that I'm really excited about. So we have a lot of marketing strategies that are sort of in place, the website being the beginning of that.
I don't know if any of the Journey followers sensed this, but I heard a lot of excitement in your voice when you mentioned that website. It sounds like something that you're very proud of, and you're excited to launch this. Who did you have do the website?
The website is, his name is Blake Mahan, and I would... I've got to look up the actual company. I could get you his information.
That's okay.
Because he's so excited about doing websites for therapists and people kind of in this business and stuff. And so he's actually out of Colorado is where their business is, and I'm out here in California. So basically, it's this. The company is called Awaken Soul, SOL Media. Okay. And they're in Boulder.
All right. We'll put that in the show notes because it sounds like you're having a good experience with this person. And wouldn't it be nice, if people see your site and they like it, that they would be able to find this person to do their website? I mean, that would be a really nice service. So
absolutely,
in a lot of people, especially when they're first starting out, will do their own websites, and I did that at first. And this was the first time in, I guess it was back in 2015, where I decided I'm not going to do this. I'm going to pay somebody to do this for me. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's you could just tell it's such a difference to have a professional do this. And it was really interesting. There's a lot that goes into this, from the whole branding perspective and the colors and the images. It's just amazing how much goes into developing a website.
Yeah, it really is. And if, and the time factor, like I said, well, I could just do these posts or blogs or whatever it is, right? I can just do it on my own. And he's like, well, yeah, how much time do you have?
That's right. That's right. Well, that's the same thing with finances for me. I find that, it's just so hard to find the time to do all the financial stuff. I'm lucky enough to be able to do the billing, but everything else that goes with it, it's so difficult. But I'm kind of interested in what you've learned about finances, money matters, and, especially now that you're in this transition process, and how has that changed for you, and what have you learned about finances in terms of group private practice?
Well, that definitely is something that's still evolving.
Yeah.
We have a system right now that, where everybody is, sort of bringing in the money and how it's being tracked. And, I'm working with another person in terms of coming up with a good tracking system.
Right.
I've got one good software system that I use for myself, and I think I'm going to get everybody else on board. But I don't have a great answer to that yet. Right now, we're just getting started, and people are, right now when they bring in their checks, then I have to be, I just basically am tracking the stuff, and just using Quicken for that and payments and stuff. So I don't know. I don't have the answer to what the best system is yet.
Yeah. It sounds like what you're doing is you're using what you know and starting off there. Yeah. And I think that that's a good place to start. And of course, you're correct that everything does evolve, that when you find that, oh, okay, I guess this isn't going to work. Well, how are we going to do this? And then you do a little bit of investigating, find out what other people have done, and then you make the modifications. And I guess that's how a lot of this stuff is done. So, well, how about just looking at yourself, Debbie, that, you've been in private practice for a long time, since 1993, and as a solo practitioner, but now group owner. And I wonder if what you've learned about yourself over the past month, and, if you've seen yourself grow professionally or personally, and just all those types of things. How has that been for you?
Well, the thing that I've noticed, I've always loved what I have done.
Yeah.
But I just sort of felt like, there's something that was just sort of stagnant about it. It was just sort of, the clients were always different, but it was still just sort of the same thing. And I'm just like, I need more. I need to do something more to get myself excited about something so that I can be even a better therapist. And I have just really found that I am excited. I'm energized by all of this. And I like being a business owner. And even with all of the fine tuning of things that's going on, I really like it. I like, I'm an educator too. I've been in education for my whole life. And so I like mentoring other people. That's sort of part of me being a teacher, what I like to do.
Yeah.
What I'm feeling right now is just being re-energized. And I even think I bring that new energy into meeting with my clients. My clients have even said to me, God, you really like this new venture you're doing. And I go, yeah, I do.
What validation is that? That's wonderful when other people can see it. And like I said, I'm hearing the excitement in your voice as you talk about this too. So it sounds like you're definitely on the right track with what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And I like I had told you before, on the last time that we talked, I really like the whole holistic idea. It makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, why don't more people do this type of thing? Because that's really, I think, where it should be. That's just my values, but it just makes such total sense to do this. So
right.
Well, let's segue to the last part of our interview today, Debbie, which I call learning and wisdom. And I'd like to talk to my guest about just pearls of wisdom, things that they've learned along their journeys of private practice, things that you could share with the journey followers that might help them in their own journeys into private practice. What words or pearls of wisdom could you share today, Debbie?
I guess my biggest one, and this comes from, my own personal beliefs too, and my own spirituality, but you've got to believe in yourself and have hope. I personally believe that I'm not going to be guided down a path that's not the right one. Yeah. And I've always trusted in that. And when I get anxious about it, I'm just like, just keep believing. And for me, that's been the biggest thing. And if I can just trust and have faith, then I'm going to go in the right direction, and it is going to work out.
What great advice. And I think that, going into private practice, you really do have to have faith in yourself, don't you? That, that you can do this. This is possible. Other people have done this. Why can't I do this? And so I think that there's a lot to be said for that. Well, Debbie, there might be some journey followers who want to contact you and maybe ask you some questions about your own journey and how you're doing things. How could they contact you?
Well, absolutely, through the website after this week. PrimroseHealingAndWellness.com. And then my phone number is 650-558-1015.
Wonderful.
Or the center for the phone number for the center, which is 650-425-3451.
Okay, fantastic. And we'll put that in the show notes so people can get a hold of you if they need to. And I really appreciate you coming on today. And I know that this is different because, like I've said, most of the time for other podcasts and like the one that I used to do, Make a Mental Note, I would have different people come on every week to do these podcast interviews. And this is totally different where you four, have made a commitment to do this throughout 2017. So it's a real service that you four are providing to the community. And I really appreciate you doing this, Debbie.
Yeah, no, it's kind of fun too because it's like I don't even know where I'm going to be next month.
That's right. I mean, it's really a journey for all of us. So that's why I said it's sort of like it's a reality show of sorts because you don't know quite what's going to happen. So, but I really appreciate you coming on today.
So thank you, Chris.
Okay,
we'll talking to you.
We'll talk to you next month. All right, wonderful interview with Debbie, and like I said before, Debbie's the only therapist of the four that I'm interviewing who has a group private practice. So she's starting this group practice, and the thing that really struck me about today's interview was how she went about hiring people, and she said that intuition plays a very important role in who to hire, and she tried to use more of a conversational approach in her interviews with these therapists to try to assess that goodness of fit and to determine, is this the right person for my practice? Do they have similar thoughts or values that I do, especially in terms of this holistic approach? And I think it was just wonderful the way that she went about doing that. And so I hope that those people who she hired work out, and I'm sure they will. Well, if you would like the show notes for today's podcast interview, please visit my website, chrisquarto.com, ChrisQuarto.com. And also, if you have not yet joined the Private Practice Journeys Facebook community, please do so. Just make a request and I'd be happy to approve you for that group. It's a wonderful group. These four therapists that I'm interviewing are part of that group, and there are close to 300 members now. most of which are either starting private practices or want to start a private practice. And so it's great conversations, great discussions on there. So make sure that you not only join the group, but tell people that you might know who might be interested in that Facebook community or this podcast series, because I want to make sure that anybody who wants to have a private practice can experience success starting or expanding one. So, okay, well, until next time, this is Chris Quarto. Thanks again for joining me.